I believe anything is possible, right? I live in the world of possibility. And I also believe that we can accomplish anything with our two hands and just putting in the work with our two hands. And also, you hear this often, but it's really, really true. You gotta find something, if you love what you do and be passionate about what you do and find something that you can be passionate, like, it really helps. You know, it gives you that motivation when you wake up in the morning. And maybe some of the stuff that's worked for me might work for you now, currently, presently, as you guys have your goals and ambitions, but then further on down the line, as you guys continue to live your life. The thing that has worked for me is to remember the hard times. I knew I wanted to be something, and it was important to me to be something. It was important to me that I didn't fail. What was a lesson. And I didn't realize that until I got older. Because, you know, when you're in it, you're in the grind, you don't really recognize those things when you're younger, but I could recognize it now, the importance of it now. And just in terms of the drive and the determination, a lot of it was experience too. Get your ass kicked, get back up, and you put the gloves back on and you swing away. But one thing that a lot of people don't know that I want to share with you guys is when I was 22 years old, I came to this city for the first time. I was playing in the Canadian Football League, playing my first pro football game. I was playing for the Calgary Stampeders. We were playing the BC Lions. I was so excited. 2 days later, I got cut. The dream shattered. Sent home with $7 in my pocket. I was like, wait, no, I gotta play in the NFL eventually. Those are my big goals. That's my dream. You realize that playing in the NFL was the best thing that never happened. I had to move back in with my parents. I was 24 years old. After I left at 18, ready to tackle the world, and in my way I did. But I had fallen so flat on my face for the first time in my life. I was depressed, asking myself why me? How can this happen? I worked so hard. Hard work pays. I always thought it's not paying for me. I got nothing. I literally had $7 in my pockets and I had a $7 story. That failure. Rising from that to say it's not over for me. The key. Remember where you came from. Keep that in the front of your mind. And when it goes bad and it goes sideways, a lot of does, you get booed out of the building, or you're coming through this injury, or people are writing you off. Oh, you got me. You know, any of that. You gotta keep it in here. And it really has to. It should drive you. It should. It works for me. It should drive you. You got all the talent in the world. It's all here. Really, the two things I want to say are: you got to be the hardest workers in the world, and don't the opportunity out. Consistently being told that whatever it is that you want to do, you've got to get after it. You've got to get after it. There's no substitute for hard work. Hard work always pays. But the key with me is just always finding what the anchor is. And the anchor is getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day before anybody else, and grounding my thought process is in the no one will outwork me. No. It's one thing to be hungry, it's another thing when you're starving for greatness and starving for success.
Work your off. There is no magic pill. There is no magic out there. You cannot get around, you have to work and work and work. And it drives me crazy when people say they don't have enough time. I became very friendly with Muhammad Ali in the 70s. Muhammad Ali worked his butt off. And I saw it firsthand. And I remember that there was a sports writer that was there in the gym when he was working out and he was doing sit-ups. And they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? And he said, I don't start counting until it hurts. Now think about that. He doesn't start counting his sit-ups until he feels pain. That's when he starts counting. That is working hard. And so you can't get around the hard work. It doesn't matter who it is. As a matter of fact, I believe what Ted Turner said. Work like hell and advertise. You get it? Work like hell, go to bed, and early to rise, work like hell and advertise. So you work your ass off and then you let the world know about your work.
You might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. But I will not be outworked. Period. It's such a simple, basic concept. It's the guy who is willing to hustle the most is going to be the guy that just gets that loose ball.
And it drives me crazy when people say they don't have enough time to go to the gym for 45 minutes a day and work out. Or to do something for 45 minutes to an hour a day to improve. If it is physically improve or if it is mentally to improve. Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours in 1 year. Think about if you study about the history of musicians, of composers, how much you would know. Imagine if you would work on a business, on some business that you want to develop every day for an hour. Imagine how further along you will go and get. So it drives me nuts because when people say we don't have the time, we have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day, so that gives you still 18 hours. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so we have 8 hours left. Then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with these 6 hours? What do you do with these 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit. You can see how much time there is available if you organize your day. So you got to work hard. I mean, let me tell you something. When I went to America, I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day. And I was working on construction. Because in those days in bodybuilding, there was no money. I didn't have the money for food supplements or anything. So I had to go to work. So I worked on construction. I went to college. I worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all that. There was not one single minute that I wasted.
There's only one thing you cannot purchase. There's only one thing you cannot buy, and that's what real beef do. That's something you're gonna have to do.
Because there's somebody out there who wants your spot. And so you gotta embody excellence. You gotta put more energy and you gotta put more effort in your stuff than anybody. So you read the book once and then you didn't get it. Read it twice, read it 3 times.
If a person leaves at 6, you leave at 8. If a person makes 100 calls a day, you make 200 calls a day. If somebody practices 3 hours, you practice 5 hours. If somebody practices 6 hours, you practice 8 hours. If someone reads 2 books, you read 4 books. Just do a little bit more.
You start training like it's your life, not a game, like it's your life. Like this the last opportunity, the only opportunity.
You think grinding is what happens when the sun comes out. You think grinding is what happens when the lights come on. You think grinding is what happens when people get in the stage. That's not grind. The real grind is in the dark when nobody sees you.
Now is the time to take risk. You don't have kids. As you get older, your obligations increase. And once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it. When I was young, I didn't really know what I was going to do when I got older. People kept asking me, but then eventually I thought that the idea of inventing things would be really cool. And the reason I thought that was because I read a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, which said that a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and that's really true. If you go back, say 300 years, the things that we take for granted today you'd be burned at the stake for. having effectively, with the internet, a group mind of sorts, and having access to all the world's information instantly from almost anywhere on the earth. Being able to fly, that's crazy. Being able to see over long distances, being able to communicate. This is stuff that really would be magic, or would be considered magic in times past. In fact, I think it actually goes beyond that, because there are many things that we take for granted today that weren't even imagined in times past. They weren't even in the realm of magic. So it actually goes beyond that. So I thought, well, if I can do some of those things, basically if I can advance technology, then that's like magic, and that would be really cool. And I was at sort of a slight existential crisis, because I was trying to figure out what does it all mean? Like, what's the purpose of things? I came to the conclusion that if we can advance the knowledge of the world, if we can do things that expand the scope and scale of consciousness, then we're better able to ask the right questions and become more enlightened, and that's really the only way forward.
One of the most difficult choices I ever faced in life was in 2008. I think I had maybe $30 million left, or $30 or $40 million left in 2008. I had two choices. I could put it all into one company, and then the other company would definitely die, or split it between the two companies. But if I split it between the two companies, then both might die. And so it's like, which one am I going to let one starve to death? I couldn't bring myself to do it, so I split the money between the two. Well, there's a ton of failures along the way, that's for sure. Like, so as I said, for SpaceX, the first 3 launches failed. And we're just barely able to scrape together enough parts and money to do the 4th launch. If that 4th launch had failed, we would have been dead. So multiple failures along the way. I tried very hard to get the right expertise in for SpaceX. I tried hard to find a great chief engineer for the rocket, but the good chief engineers wouldn't join, and the bad ones, well, there was no point in hiring them. So I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket. So if I could have found somebody better, then we would have maybe had less than 3 failures.
Crazy things can come true. It said, like, I didn't really think this would work. Because when I see the rocket lift off, I see like 1,000 things that not work, and it's amazing when they do. But I think it's going to open up a sense of possibility. I think it's going to encourage other companies and countries to say, hey, if SpaceX, which is a commercial company, can do this, then they can do it too. So I think it's going to encourage other countries and companies to raise their sights and say, hey, we can do bigger and better, which is great. We won a new space race.
If something didn't happen to improve rocket technology, we would be stuck on Earth forever.
And I've seen rockets blow up so many different ways. So, it's a big relief when it actually works.
SpaceX and Tesla almost didn't survive. I mean, it came very close to perishing as companies. In 2008 and 2009, with the Great Recession, was an extremely close call.
You got to have a purpose no matter what you do in life. You got to have a purpose. So that's rule number 1, have a vision. You see, if you don't have a vision of where you go, and if you don't have a goal where you go, you drift around and you never end up anywhere. It's like you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best airplane in the world. If the pilot or the captain doesn't know where to go, it will just drift around. It will not end up anywhere, or most likely in the wrong place. So I was very fortunate that I stumbled onto my vision. Rule number 2 is, don't listen to the naysayers. Everything I ever did, the thing that I heard out of people's mouth was, that's impossible. That can't be done. Or no. I mean, as you know, I was born in 1947 in Austria after the Second World War. And I didn't really like Austria when I grew up. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I couldn't see myself becoming a farmer or a worker in a factory or anything like that. Even though my parents wanted me to stay there and have a normal life. My father wanted me to become a police officer like he was. My mother wanted me just to stay there. But that was their vision, not mine. My vision was totally different. I felt that I was born for something special, for something unique, for something big. So I was searching. I remember when I wanted to be a bodybuilding champion, including my parents and everyone else around me, said this is impossible. You can't be a bodybuilding champion. That is exactly what I heard, and of course I proved to the people that it can't be done. So whenever someone said to me, it can't be done, I heard it can be done. When they said no, I heard yes. And when they said it's impossible, I heard it is possible. I'm a strong believer of what Nelson Mandela said, that everything is always impossible until someone does it. Well, I'm gonna be the one, I said to myself, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna show it to them. Maybe it has never been done before. That's perfectly fine with me. But I'm gonna do it. And I did not listen to the naysayers. When I wanted to come to America, when I wanted to go to America, they said it's impossible. There's no money that you have to fly even over there. You have no money when you go over there to live with. It was all no, and it can't be done, it's impossible. And I remember then the same thing happened also when I'm into the show business. As a studio executive, I say, I want to get into movies. I want to be a leading man. He started laughing. So they all say it's impossible. I said, why is it impossible? He says, because look at how big you are. You weigh 250 pounds. And then they told me, says, and your accent, even if you reduce all your body weight and everything and have a normal body, your accent. I said, your accent, I mean, it will go give people a goosebumps with the German accent. It will get people the creeps. They will get scared. He says, no one in Hollywood ever has become a leading man that had an accent. This is the kind of stuff that they heard. They said, no, you see, it's impossible. This is the kind of thing that I heard. Imagine, you go from studio executive to studio executive, from agent to agent, from manager to manager, and they all said exactly the same thing. Because I believed that I can be a leading man. I said, there's enough room on that ladder that I can fit up there. And of course I went to college to study English. I studied voice, accent removal, acting classes, and all of this stuff, all day long. I worked and I worked and I worked. And within a short period of time, I made one movie called Hercules in New York, which of course went right into the toilet. It didn't discourage me. I still had the same vision. And then all of a sudden I did Streets of San Francisco. I did Stay Hungry and Pumping Iron and The Villain. And then all of a sudden I was asked by Dino De Laurentiis and by Universal Studio, the biggest studio, to star in Conan the Barbarian. And after I did Conan the Barbarian, the director at the press conference said to the press, the director was John Milius. He said to the press, if we wouldn't have had Arnold, we would have had to build one. The very body that they said can never be sold because the time is wrong. A few years later, I'm doing Conan the Barbarian, and it was the #1 hit at the box office when it came out in the summer of '82. Think about that. And the director says, if we wouldn't have had his body, we would have had to build one. So all of a sudden, my body became an asset, not a liability. And the same thing was with Terminator. After we were finished filming Terminator, Jim Cameron said to the press, if Arnold wouldn't have had that accent and talked like a machine, I think the movie wouldn't have worked. The body and the accent that they attacked was an asset. But I didn't listen to those losers. I didn't listen to them at all. It's just the reality of it is that you cannot listen to the naysayers. So this is a very important lesson for all of you. If I would have listened to the naysayers, from bodybuilding to show business to politics, I would be in Austria in the Alps yodeling. So this is why I say don't listen to the naysayers. And the next thing, the third point that I'm going to make to you is work your ass off. There is no magic pill. There is no magic out there. You cannot get around. You have to work and work and work. And it drives me crazy when people say that they don't have enough time to go to the gym for 45 minutes a day and work out. Or to do something for 45 minutes to an hour a day to improve. If it is physically improve or if it is mentally to improve. Imagine you read 1 hour a day about history. How much you will learn after 365 hours in 1 year. Think about if you study about the history of musicians, of composers, how much you would know. Imagine if you would work on a business, on some business that you want to develop every day for an hour. Imagine how further along you will go and get. So it drives me nuts because when people say we don't have the time, we have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day, so that gives you still 18 hours. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so we have 8 hours left. Then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with these 6 hours? What do you do with these 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit. You can see how much time there is available if you organize your day. So you got to work hard. I mean, let me tell you something. When I went to America, I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day. And I was working on construction. Because in those days in bodybuilding, there was no money. I didn't have the money for food supplements or anything. So I had to go to work. So I worked on construction. I went to college. I worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all that. There was not one single minute that I wasted. I became very friendly with Muhammad Ali in the 70s. Muhammad Ali worked his butt off, and I saw it firsthand. And I remember that there was a sports writer that was there in the gym when he was working out and he was doing sit-ups. And they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? And he said, I don't start counting until it hurts. Now think about that. He doesn't start counting his sit-ups until he feels pain. That's when he starts counting. That is working hard. And so you can't get around the hard work. It doesn't matter who it is. As a matter of fact, I believe what Ted Turner said, work like hell and advertise. You get it? Work like hell, go to bed, and early to rise, work like hell and advertise. So you work your ass off, and then you let the world know about your work.
If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure. There are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough, that you do it in spite of fear. Whatever area that you get into, given that even if you're the best, there's always a chance of failure. So I think it's important that you really like whatever you're doing. If you don't like it, life is too short. If you like what you're doing, you think about it even when you're not working. I mean, it's something that your mind is drawn to. And if you don't like it, you just really can't make it work. Life can't just be about solving problems. Otherwise, what's the point? It's got to be things that people find inspiring and make life worth living. Being focused on something
that you're confident will have high value to someone else, and just being really rigorous in making that assessment, because people tend to, a natural human tendency is wishful thinking. So a challenge for entrepreneurs is to say, well, what's the difference between really believing in your ideals and sticking to them versus pursuing some unrealistic dream that doesn't actually have merit? And that is a really difficult thing to tell you.
Work hard, like every waking hour. That's the thing I would say, particularly if you're starting a company. And if you do simple math, say like, okay, if somebody else is working 50 hours and you're working 100, you'll get twice as much done in the course of a year as the other company. Particularly if you're starting a company, you need to work super hard. So what does super hard mean? When my brother and I were starting our first company, instead of getting an apartment, we just rented a small office and we slept on the couch. And we showered at the YMCA, and we're so hot up we had just one computer. So the website was up during the day, and I was coding at night. 7 days a week, all the time. And I sort of briefly had a girlfriend in that period, and in order to be with me, she had to sleep in the office. People sometimes think technology just automatically gets better every year, but it actually doesn't. It only gets better if smart people work like crazy to make it better. That's how any technology actually gets better.
I already thought the probability of failure was high, and that with that the likelihood of success was a bit low. And so this was not new information. I thought maybe SpaceX had, I don't know, 10 or 20% chance of success.
Just, all the ways they can fail, and that's like the sort of mental checklist that's scrolling through your mind. It's all the things that can break. There's thousands of things that can go wrong, and everything has to go right once the rocket lifts off. There's no opportunity to do a recall or upload a software fix or anything like that. It's like you see the pass and failure is 100%.
Have you ever been put in a position where you didn't think that you had the strength to carry on? You must never give up.
I don't care how good you are, I don't care how talented you are, I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen.
Because every time you break, and in every way that you break, while it's a chance for you to give up and for you to fall apart, but there's also opportunity to get stronger, and get smarter, and get faster, and get tougher, and get more stable, and get more resilient, and get better.
I need you to look at that sickness that's going on in your life right now, whatever it is. I want you to say, I can beat it. I can beat it. I will beat it. I must. I got a family to live for. I ain't through yet. My life ain't over yet. There's some things in life you don't need no degree for. You don't need no money for it. You don't need no support for it. There's some things in life you just gonna get through when you tell yourself, I'm gonna get through this.
Be encouraged today. That no matter what you walk through, no matter how broken your marriage is, no matter how many times you fail,
there is within you a spirit that is greater than whatever is going on around you.
Make a choice. Just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
We can't have another bad year. You got to get to the point where enough is enough.
It's much easier to come up with excuses why you can't do it. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. If you do what is easy, complain about your situation, your circumstances. surrender and give up on your dreams, become depressed and bitter and angry. Anybody can do that. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, keep coming back again and again and again. Get up dressed every day.
Take life on. Taking life by the collar. You say, yes, I will do it.
I can do this. And you've said to yourself, I'm willing to face the nose. I'm willing for people to laugh at me. I'm willing to gut this out. I'm willing to make this happen. It's my time. It's possible. It's necessary. It's hard. It's worth it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I can do it. If anybody's ever done at any point in time in history that what's possible for one, it's possible for me, and I'm going to do it. And if you do that over and over and over again, your life will be easy.
And I'm not retreating. I'm not running. I don't care what they say on paper. I don't care if you say we outnumbered. We live by this and we die by this. We don't retreat. We don't run. We gonna stand, we gonna live, and we gonna die by what we stand for, and everybody gonna know what we represent and what we're part of.
Fail big. That's right. Fail big. 40 years ago, March 27th, 1975, it was 40 years ago, just this past March, I was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time she looked up, every time I looked up, she was looking at me, just looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen, give me a pencil, I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975, she said, boy, you are gonna travel the world and speak to millions of people. Now mind you, I was flunked out of college. I'm thinking about joining the army. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and she's telling me I'm gonna travel the world and speak to millions of people. Well, I have traveled the world, and I have spoke to millions of people. But that's not the most important thing, the success that I had. The most important thing is that what she taught me and what she told me that day has stayed with me since. Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. In order to achieve your goals, you must apply discipline and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. Remember that. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. Put God first. Put God first in everything you do. Everything that you think you see in me, everything that I've accomplished, everything that you think I have, and I have a few things, everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift.
Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love, and that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking, don't settle. When I was 17, I read a quote that went something like, "If you live each day as if it was your last, someday you'll most certainly be right." It made an impression on me, and since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself.
It's hard. Life will put some knots on your head. One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what's using my life? Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go real well, and sometimes they don't. I bought my first home for my mother. I was rushing, didn't know what I was doing, and I bought a home that had a lien against it. And they called me, "Mr. Brown, yes, there's a lien against your property. We need $55,000 if you're going to stay there." Wait a minute, sir. I just bought this home. The guy told me there were no liens against it. You should have checked that out, Mr. Brown. Come on. I called my attorney. We followed up. Yes, Les, there's a lien against the property. But he told me there were no liens. He lied, obviously. Oh my God. He told me he wanted to help me because he admired the fact that I was buying this home for my mother. Les, he suckered you. He played you, man. So what? Well, would they take payment arrangements? What about $5,000 a month? They want all the money, Les. They want all the money, or you're going to have to get out. The house is going up for sheriff's sale. Do you have it? No, I don't have them. Can they give me some time? Tell them to give me 3 months, please. Give me 3 months. My mother's in her 70s, man. She has a bad heart. Don't do this to me. This is my dream. Don't do this, man. I gotta figure this out, huh? I gotta figure this out. Les, I'm talking to their attorney. They don't want to talk to you. I've got to talk to the attorneys. Do you have the money? No. Will they give me 3 months? No. What about 2 months? No, Les. They want the money in 7 days. Oh my God. Let me call you back, I'm not sure. And I walked the floors thinking, God, how could this happen to me? It seemed like the days are just ticking off, ticking off. Thursday, I had to call them and let them know. They called me, Les, do you have the money? No, I don't. Friday, you have to leave. You're gonna have to leave, Les. They're gonna take my house. What about my down payment? You lost it, Les. You lost it. Okay, I gotta go, yes. I prayed, Lord, please, if you show me that you're real, if you're really real, you think Paul worked for you, you haven't seen anything. Don't let me lose this house and watch what I'll do for you. I was trying to cut a deal. Have you ever tried to cut a deal? It's amazing how spiritual you get when you get in trouble. When I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I was going to bed with the Bible and the Holy Quran and Science of Mind and Joel Goldsmith, everything I could find. I was praying to Jesus, Yahweh, Melchizedek, everybody. I was calling on everybody. It's amazing. And here I was walking the floor at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to go and wake my mother up. I got on my knees and I said, Mama, I said, I need you to wake up. She said, what's wrong, Leslie? I can hear you walking back and forth. I'm not asleep, son. She said, your eyes are red. Why are your eyes red? Because I feel so stupid now. Why? We got to move tomorrow. Why, Leslie? There's a lien against the property and they want $55,000 and I don't have it. And we're going to be set out tomorrow. We have to go back to Liberty City. Oh, she said, it's okay. I don't like this house anyhow. I said, why? She said, because of my arthritic knees, it hurts my knees when I go up the steps. I said, then why didn't you tell me? Because you were so happy. I'll live in a shack with you, boy. I love you. It's not the house. I love you. I love all my children. I said, thank you, Mama. Thank you. And the next day when we were in the truck going back to Liberty City, the neighbors came out and said, wow, Mamie, y'all coming back? Are you back? Yes. What happened to the home your boy bought for you? Leslie didn't do a title search. He made a mistake. And boy, I was so humiliated. Taking the furniture off the truck, and my mother came and I was crying. And she said, boy, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, hold your head up. I said, Mama, I can't. She said, hold your head up. I said, why? Look what I've done. She said, it's okay. It's okay. You are going to make a lot of mistakes in life, young man. You're going to fail your way to success. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Keep your head up and take that furniture back in the house. I said, yes, ma'am. And I learned something from that. If you ever make a mistake, hold your head up. If you ever go through something, hold your head up. If you ever do something and everything goes wrong, life catch you on the blind side, hold your head up. It's not over. Goethe said, that which does not kill you will make you stronger. Hold your head up.
Fail big. You only live once, so do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. So have dreams, but have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, daily goals. I try to give myself a goal every day. Have goals. And understand that to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency every day, not just on Tuesday and miss a few days. You have to work at it every day. You have to plan every day. You've heard the saying, we don't plan to fail, we fail to plan. Hard work works. Working really hard is what successful people do. Just because you're doing a lot more doesn't mean you're getting a lot more done. Don't confuse movement with progress. I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything except my faith. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Fall forward. This is what I mean. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. But do you have the guts to fail? Here's my second point about failure. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. Fall forward. So the question is, what are you going to do with what you have? I'm not talking about how much you have. Some of you are business majors. Some of you are theologians, nurses, sociologists. Some of you have money. Some of you have patience. Some of you have kindness. Some of you have love. Some of you have the gift of long suffering. Whatever it is, whatever your gift is, what are you going to do with what you have? So you got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. Because remember this, you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Put God first. Put God first in everything you do. Everything that you think you see in me, everything that I've accomplished, everything that you think I have, and I have a few things, everything that I have is by the grace of God. Understand that. It's a gift.
It was very difficult that I could do it. There were times that I doubted myself. To pick myself up each day believing. I used to ask myself, can I do this? By continuing to push forward. By continuing to run toward my dream. Don't give up on your dream. And something said within me, you're the one.
In the Far East, they have something that's called the Chinese bamboo tree.
The Chinese bamboo tree takes 5 years to grow. They have to water and fertilize the ground where it is every day. And it doesn't break through the ground until the 5th year. But once it breaks through the ground, it grows 90 feet tall. Now the question is, does it grow 90 feet tall in 5 weeks or 5 years? The answer is obvious. It grows 90 feet tall in 5 years. Because at any time, had that person stopped watering and nurturing and fertilizing that dream, and some people, ladies and gentlemen, they stop because they don't see instant results. It doesn't happen quickly. They stop. Oh, no. You got to keep on watering your dream. That bamboo tree would have died in the ground. And when it began to happen, they stopped laughing. They said, look, I know you can do it. Look.
You were created for something. You wasn't created for nothing. Stop stressing about the things that you cannot control and start focusing on the things that you have control of. Take control of your life. Take control of the opportunities. Believe in yourself and know that it is not over for you. So many people out there in this world right now will try to tell you not to be something that you feel in your heart that you want to be.
One night I'm looking at television. I see these young guys on television using all kind of profanity. And I was looking down them at my nose saying, look at this. This is horrible. And as I sat there in the dark, God asked, what are you doing here? Talking about them. There's never been a statue erected to a critic. I gave you Mamie Brown. I took you out of your biological mother's womb and placed you in the heart of your adopted brother. I saved you from prostate cancer. 14 years ago, they gave you 2 to 3 years. I gave you the gift of word to inspire. Here you are sitting in the dark looking at these young boys, and they got somebody to buy into their dream. They got somebody to invest in their script. They got a cast, they got a crew, they got cameras, they got studios, they got it in theater. You should be on television and they should be on a couch watching you. What are you doing here?
See, 5 years ago when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself. That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you. That's real for you. That's important for you. That will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that.
You are a king. Kings rule. Kings don't hide out in a cave. Kings don't run. Kings have dominion. What are you doing here? Maya Angelou said, all of us go so far, and then we pause. We take some hits. We have some defeats. We have some disappointments. And we stop dead on our track.
The one thing they all have in common, I think, is they're hungry. And I know that sounds simplistic, but I believe that's the single most important element that separates the quality of people's lives. It's not just the ability to have hunger, but to sustain it. Hunger means that you want more. You want more of yourself. You want to make a bigger difference. You want to be a better parent. You want to do something more than there is today, and that you don't get satisfied. Most people start out with hunger at an early stage of life, and they lose it. Everybody is born with hunger. Like there's a desire to grow, to expand, to learn, and then disappointment sets in early in life for most people. And then we look to blame something outside of ourselves. And there are many events in our lives that can affect us all. We've all had pain and challenges. But I think if you can find within yourself the part of you that wants to constantly give something more than yourself. If you can find a mission larger than yourself, then you're more pulled to do something than trying to push yourself. And pull has much more power than push. I always say motive does matter. That if your motive is to serve something greater, there is an energy that comes up inside of you.
Take massive action. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. Keep going with massive action and you will find the way, because it will give you momentum.
Everything you people have told me, I didn't have the technology, I didn't have the right contacts, I didn't have the time, I didn't have money. Everything you've told me, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices, those are resources. And so you're telling me I failed because I didn't have the resources, and I'm here to tell you what you already know. Resources are never the problem. It's a lack of resourcefulness is why you failed. Because the ultimate resources are emotional states.
A decision is the first step. Decision is like a war, but commitment is when you now, after you've decided, you commit to do this for the long term. Whether it's hard or easy, doesn't matter. You're doing this. It takes it from this moment and it carries it into the future even when things are difficult. And the third state is resolve. Resolve means it's done. It's like, it doesn't even if you took action, it's done inside you, so it's done out there. There's no question whatsoever. You find your passion. You're gonna have this tremendous energy, it's sustainable energy. But momentum requires you always do the next thing to keep the momentum going. And the reason you get yourself in a passionate place is so that you change your life, and the only thing that changes your life is making a decision. So while you're in this passionate state, that's where you make decisions.
I hate plan B because we have so many doubters. We have so many of those people that say no and you can't do it and it's impossible amongst all the negative people around you. But when you start doubting yourself, that's very dangerous. Because now what you're basically saying is that if my plan doesn't work, I have a fallback plan, I have a plan B. And that means that you start thinking about plan B, and every thought that you put into plan B, you're taking away now that thought and that energy from plan A. Very important to understand that we function better if there is no safety net, because plan B becomes a safety net. It says that if I fail, then I fall and I get picked up and I have something else there that will protect me. And that's not good, because people perform better when there's no safety net. People perform better in sports and everything else if you don't have a plan B. I'm telling you, I've never ever had a plan B. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna go and be a bodybuilding champion. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna be in America. I made a full commitment that I'm gonna get in the show business and I'm going to be a leading man. No matter what it takes, I will do the work. I will do the work over and over and over until I get it. And the same was in politics and everything like that. So to me, it is very dangerous to have a plan B, because you're cutting yourself off from the chance of really succeeding. And the reason, one of the main reasons why people want to have a plan B is because they are worried about failing. What is if I fail, then I don't have anything else? Well, let me tell you something, don't be afraid of failing, because there's nothing wrong with failing. You have to fail in order to climb that ladder. Michael Jordan said in one of his interviews, when they said, "You're unbelievable, you're the greatest basketball player of all times." I mean, tell me about that. And he says, well, you're just mentioning the successes. But he says, for me to become the greatest basketball player, I missed 9,000 shots when I was playing basketball at the NBA games. So during these games that he was so successful, he missed 9,000 shots. Does it make him a failure? No. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all times, but he failed 9,000 times. Do you get it? We all fail. What is not okay is that when you fail, you stay down. Whoever stays down is a loser. And winners will fail and get up. Fail and get up. Fail and get up. You always get up. That is a winner. That is a winner. I failed in bodybuilding. I lost bodybuilding competitions. I lost powerlifting competitions. I lost weightlifting competitions. I had movies that went in the toilet and that were terrible and got the worst reviews. We all lose. We all have losses. This is okay. And this is why I say don't be worried about losing, because when you're afraid of losing, then you get frozen. You get stiff. You're not relaxed. You got to be, in order to perform well in anything, if it's in boxing or if it is on your job or with your thinking, is only happening when you relax. So relax. It's okay to fail. Let's just go all out and give it everything that you got. That's what it is all about. So don't be afraid to fail.